Hi, Flask here. I played some game demos during the recent Steam Next Fest for October 2024. Here are all the ones that I played that I did not shut down within 5 minutes. First up, HARK the GHOUL, a first-person exploration adventure action game that outright says that it was inspired by the likes of Hollow Knight and Dark Souls, but as a game it feels much more in the vein of a first-person dungeon crawler like King's Field or Shadow Tower. You choose what type of bug person you are, and then you're off with a sword and a gun and grenades into a dark world of ghoul tunnels and rainy, eclipsed cities. It was pretty enjoyable from what I played, and definitely has that interconnectivity that its inspirations are known for. Silly Polly Beast? Silly Polly Beast is a top-down shooter, dark fantasy, survival, like urban fantasy, survival horror with some anime girl in there. It has a pretty good sense of style, and the gameplay seems just alright so far. I didn't get too far into it. Mostly the presentation was interesting to me, like a brutalist dystopia that transforms into this shadowy hellfire otherworld, and you have to blast your way out of it and find your way through while contending with your inner demons, of course. Octopus City Blues is a bizarre pixel art adventure game. You are a lowlife, almost literally named Kafka, trying to get a corporate job in some kind of biofreak tentacle nightmare city. Very colorful, ugly, purposefully so, grungy, with a tone of absurd, insane humor. I personally don't so much gel with truly unhinged game worlds because I find them hard to connect to. Harder than reality with a tinge of madness, at least. But for what it's trying to do, it crafts that feeling very well from what I played. Urban Myth Dissolution Center is a pixel art, point-and-click adventure mystery game. You play as a girl who... It's really presented as quite abrupt in the demo, but she starts seeing ghosts and immediately goes to a nearby organization that she sees posters for, the Urban Myth Dissolution Center. And as the name suggests, they solve or dispel curses and anomalous objects or beings. The game has stellar pixel art and real good design sensibility. I also like how it seems like the gameplay will be a combination of seeing spectral hints and using your brain to put together the clues that you find in a way that explains the mystery. I do hope it doesn't fall too much into the, Danganronpa trap of being laborious about the mystery solving, which I saw some shades of already. Not letting you just get to the point, being overly explanatory. Hope it doesn't go that route. The game does seem like it has a good sense of humor, so that's good. But I also didn't care for the explanation for the protagonist joining the center, because being that she has to pay for a chair that she destroys after she's essentially lied to about it. I guess that's supposed to be a joke, but it's real flimsy if I'm supposed to be connecting to the characters, Sorry We're Closed, I would describe as basically Jet Set Radio's Silent Hill. It looks like a polygonal 6th-gen game. It's got the horror world and gameplay of a Silent Hill, but splashed with neon and, Persona characters. Pretty cool from what I played. It is survival horror. You're trapped in another world, but the gimmick is that you can use your third eye to see into the real world at any time in a certain radius around yourself. And this helps in seeing the nature of things, solving puzzles, getting through places, and even in combat. The game is third person with overhead camera angles, but in combat it goes first person. And then your third eye sight lets you see enemy weak points if they're near you, so you can expend less ammo on them, which is, I think, a great gimmick. The Steam description says it has deep characters and multiple endings, too, which is always nice. Mousebusters is a pixel art adventure shooter in the style of, I would say, a Game Boy Advance game. You play as a guy who moves into an apartment building and gets transformed into a mouse and is tasked by another talking mouse to fight ghosts that are haunting the other tenants of the building. Most of the game is a mouse around, click on stuff style game, and then when you're busting ghosts, it switches to a side shooter. That's what we get in the demo, anyway. And if you couldn't tell from that premise, it's a lighthearted game. Trash Goblin is a first-person cleaning/chipping simulator. You are a goblin working in a trinket shop. You get a constant influx of encrusted artifacts that you have to uncrust and then scrub down. And customers come to your shop requesting specific items. As far as I played it, it was pretty simple. It did appear that there would be a trinket combining system opening up, but I'm not sure if there will come any way to filter what types of trinkets come your way in the first place, because at least at the start, it's random what you get. It looks like it'll be early access, so maybe there's more content in store. I played 2 bird games back to back. The first is Garden Trills, a pleasant, casual 3D platformer where you're a family of birds who moved into a new neighborhood of floating land masses, and you go around performing tasks like weeding and replanting your garden, delivering gifts to neighbors, helping out other birds, stuff like that. So it's not really a gardening simulation like you might expect. It's definitely a platformer type game with hovering, because you're a bird. It's cute. But the next bird game was not so cute. It's called SPARROW, and you play as a sparrow crawling and flapping through the walls of some building, at least at first, eating green grubs and dodging, I don't know, radioactive spiders, I guess. The first thing this game did was crash, and then when I restarted it, the game had no sound. But I played it a bit, and it felt alright. Kind of jank. Honestly, I'm not sure I gave it that fair a chance. I don't know. A horror game where you play as a bird seems like an interesting angle, so maybe it'll turn out to be something. Not a great first impression on my end, though. Wiblu? I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Wiblu is a side-scrolling adventure game. According to the Steam page, it'll be a mysterious, enchanting journey using German mythology. And apparently the main quest is to find a magical tea for grandmother. The demo really just gives a taste of the gameplay and style. Not much. Nice art style, certainly playable. Little gelflings with glowy eyes comprise the population. So we'll see just how enchanting it is on release, huh? VOIN is a first-person hack-and-slash dark fantasy with a kind of garish, grim art style. It's one of those games that's in the vein of Doom 2016's gameplay, melee-focused with dashing from what I played, and you get upgrades and powers to make your chopping more effective. Looks like it could have some depth to it, kind of RPG elements. Mohrta is a first-person action RPG in a weird fantasy setting, retro 3D art style. It claims to be non-linear, as in you can explore vast areas, so that sounds cool. You start out with sword and pistol, but supposedly you come across other wild weapons on your journey. It seems more geared towards fast-paced fun than slow-paced strategy, like a Serious Sam game or something like that. But that does not mean it won't be difficult. It was already kind of difficult. The Good Old Days is a side-scrolling Metroidvania platformer adventure. I would describe it as folk, gothic, earthbound, spelunky, with the plot of The Goonies. The basic idea is you have to pay off a large sum of money. So you and a group of friends that you have to rescue, go exploring using bombs and keys to collect coins from the underground. And every time you die, it adds towards your elapsed time, which I imagine is bad if you're trying to pay off a debt in a timely fashion. The game has this, I guess I'd call it a scanline chromatic filter that I'm not sure I like. But other than that, and the fact that the jump and place bomb buttons are reversed from what I'd prefer, so I kept placing bombs by accident, this game does seem like it could be a unique take on its genre. So maybe keep an eye on this one. Unbroken is a deep-fried flintlock first-person action RPG with bullet time and frantic fighting. Maybe a little too frantic for me, because I got overwhelmed pretty quickly, but I'm probably just not good at it. It's that type of action where you have to constantly be deflecting, dodging, grabbing and switching weapons on the fly, that sort of thing. Set in a grimdark world. Voidwrought. Yo, you like Hollow Knight? Me too. Voidwrought is Hollow Knight. It seems pretty fun. It's out right now, so you could go play it if you're waiting for Silksong. 2D action platformer, Metroidvania, with a dark, epic world to explore. It seems good. Karma, the Dark World, is a first-person retro sci-fi dystopia memory nightmare walking simulator. Very surreal and inscrutable so far. Kind of in the vein of certain Bloober Team games like Layers of Fear or Observer. Reminded me of those. All I can say, really, is we shall see whether this hits the mark of resonating in that psychological horror way, but in a coherent manner. Somber Echoes is a side-scrolling Metroidvania with 3D assets, so not 2D. Dark sci-fi setting. Apparently the place you're in is a huge abandoned spaceship. That's a cool setting. It's presented very grandiosely through an ongoing narrative, like a myth being told. What it comes down to in the moment-to-moment is that action exploration, jumping across ledges, sword and shield with parry timing, plus unlocks as you go, like a teleport zip kind of power to get to higher places. I was impressed by how smooth the game felt to play, and that's honestly the biggest selling point for me. Plus, it's always a treat when the bosses are like giant spiders made of teeth and stuff like that. I like it. Permafrost is a third-person, open-world survival crafting game set in a world beset by endless winter. It is modern, not medieval or fantasy or anything like that. Just regular folks trying to survive an apocalyptic winter in the modern age. Typical objectives: gather, scavenge, craft, hunt, eat, build shelter. It's up to 4-player co-op. Apparently there will be other factions. Not sure what that means exactly. But yeah, it's a serviceable one of these from what I played. A little floaty feeling, maybe, but the post-apocalyptic winter setting could be a nice change of pace for the genre.
Nice fork.
And lastly, but not leastly, The Haunting of Joni Evers is a first-person walk-around mystery game. Pretty typical gameplay. You are walking around a house during a storm, and things start to get dreamlike to the point where you can no longer leave the house and have to go looking for whispering objects, seemingly to relive emotions of memories from the past of your family. I imagine it'll be in the service of emotional closure for the titular Joni Evers. And apparently there is a curse to break, though sometimes that turns out to be symbolic, doesn't it? Immediate points for having a voiced main character. That always helps connect the player to the story. Her voice lines can get kind of queued up if you are progressing too fast, and the walking speed is a little slow, but otherwise, it felt competent. I know that was a lot of titles to process, was for me as well, but hopefully this gave you a little subjective taste of each offering, and maybe you've wishlisted a game or three, like I have. So, see you next fest.